The Futurebit Apollo 2 is a beautifully designed home Bitcoin miner and node. It's also very easy to set up and use. Today we're going to take a look at how to do exactly that. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
So off the hop, what are you going to need to know in order to successfully navigate this tutorial? Well, basically not a whole lot. You can be a relative newcomer to Bitcoin and actually get set up right away with this thing. So I'm going to outline it all over on their website. I'll point you towards this so that you can check it out. There'll be links down in the show notes if you're interested in checking it out. In terms of if you're actually mining Bitcoin and receiving it, there's a couple different ways to do it. The version of the Futurebit that has the full node included, which we'll learn about momentarily, comes with something called a Satscard, which is a way of being able to receive Bitcoin directly. Very, very easy to use. Alternatively, I'm also going to show you how to set up your own Bitcoin wallet to receive Bitcoin too, should you hit a block. In terms of how to think of the Futurebit and home mining in general, I don't want you to think of this as you're going to make a ton of money, because with electricity rates in most municipalities, that's not going to be the case. Think of this as kind of twofold, one of two things. Maybe both. Number one, it's a fantastic learning mechanism, learning about how Bitcoin works, how mining works in the process of setting up and using this device. But number two, you can get paid out. You can get regular payouts to a Bitcoin wallet, small amounts. But I'd say more people are going to go for something called solo mining, which is kind of like a forever lottery ticket that will sit on your shelf, where you're likely not going to make money. But if you do end up successfully mining a block, then the reward is huge. At the time of recording this video, 3.125 Bitcoin. You can do the math with whatever the current price is while you're watching this. But again, treat this as a learning tool, as a forever lottery ticket, just in case, and a way to kind of see how Bitcoin works and perhaps get a few non-KYC or anonymous sats to a Lightning wallet if you choose to do it that way. Nonetheless, let's dive in. Let's get set up right away. Let's check out how to set up your Futurebit. All right, so let's take a look at the device itself. We're looking top down at this thing currently, but let's just turn it front side up. So here's the front. You've got your label, Apollo 2. We'll kind of flip it around to see what we have. Out the back, we have the exhaust. We've got the power button. We've got the connector for your power as well. You've got some USB-A. You've got an Ethernet port. You've got another USB. And then on the other side, you have an HDMI port and one for headphones and or speakers there. On the bottom, you also have easy access to swapping out the hard drive as well. This is a 2 terabyte drive. The device that I have is the full node version with a 2 terabyte drive, just so you are aware. Now in the box, I also, of course, received the power cable, and then I received this insert. It has a couple things. There's some instructions here. Again, notes that it's the full node version. But there's also this card on the front. This is called a Satscard. We will address this later. If you're new to Bitcoin and you just want to kind of start using this thing right away and not necessarily having to dive into how the hell do I set up a Bitcoin wallet, this will be the quickest path to do that. So we'll look at that, and we'll also look at setting your own Bitcoin wallet as well. The only thing not included in here that you're probably going to want is an Ethernet cable. So the way this is going to work, I'll just turn it around to the back here, is step one. You're going to take this power cable, plug it into the back, and this, of course, will end up going into the wall. You're going to take, ideally, an Ethernet cable, and you're going to plug that directly into your router. And then you'll access this device from any computer on your home network. Now, this does have Wi-Fi capabilities. I would maybe shy away from relying on that entirely, because you never know, like if you're too far from the router or whatever, the connection may be finicky if you don't have your networking great. There's also some more nuance around that. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video for our key takeaways. But I would highly recommend doing this directly Ethernet into your router, which is what I'm going to be doing. Nonetheless, I'm going to get this plugged in. We'll take a quick look at what it looks like when it is plugged in, and then we will figure out how to access this via our home computer. All right, real quick, just on the phone here so you guys can see, I just plugged this in. It is, when it first came on, actually, the fan started whirring pretty heavy. Now it's not nearly as loud as it was initially, but we basically just got the power cable and the Ethernet cable, and that is going down into a switch here, but that's just connected to my my router and then just plugged in to power down below. So this is now here. We'll take a look at how to access it on the computer. All right, so now that we're all plugged in, how do we access this device on our local computer, on our MacBook or whatever computer you're running? Pretty simple. When you get the insert here, in your package, there's a little QR code in the bottom right of that. You scan that with your phone, or scan that with your phone. It'll give you directions into a website that will give you some details on how to connect. There are basically two different URLs that you can type into your browser to access your device. I found that the first one worked just fine, so I'll show you here. I typed in futurebit-apollo-2.local, and that brought me right here. I can see the setup screen is good to go. However, if this one or the other URL that's provided through that info page from the insert, if those do not work, you can still access the device. The way you would do that is you would find the IP address for your device. And there's a couple different programs you can use to do this. One is AngryIP scanner, angryip.org. I'll drop that in the show notes down below. You just scan and you look for the device that says Futurebit, and then you copy the string of digits that's off to the left, and you paste that into your browser. On Mac, one that I use often is called Lanscan. That one works great as well. And so, yeah, you'd be able to find the device. It'll be pretty obvious which one it is. You take the IP address of it, you paste it into your browser, hit enter, and you should come up with this screen. So once you're connected, now we're going to go through the setup process. All right, so let's walk through this setup. We're going to simply click on Start Setup Process, and we're going to be choosing between solo mining and pooled mining. Now, for the beginning of this video, I'm going to start with solo mining. That means that you can think of pooled mining like a bunch of people all entering to win the lottery at the same time and then pooling all their tickets and their funds together, and you would get paid out based on the amount of lottery tickets that you purchased. With pooled mining, when it comes to Bitcoin, it is how much hash power, how much computing power are you contributing to the pool of people that you're mining with? These pools of people quite often are very, very large, so they split the pie, but it's more reliable that you get payouts. When mining, again, locally in a municipality with regular grid power, it's not going to be super profitable. I personally like the idea of solo mining and having a forever lottery ticket so that if I do successfully mine a block, which has happened for somebody using the Futurebit before, you get a payout of the entire reward, which as of recording this video is 3.125 Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's likely, but it's a nice payout if it happens. And so, yeah, I prefer this. So we're going to go with solo mining. We will explore pooled mining later. So I click solo. It gives us some outlining of what is entailed with solo mining, so on and so forth. I'm going to accept. And then we need a wallet address. So there's two ways to go about this, and we're going to explore them right now. One of them is included with the Futurebit full node model. The other one is something we'll set up ourselves. So the simplest way to get yourself a Bitcoin address, if you got the full node version of the Futurebit Apollo 2, is that little card that they include with it. This is called a Satscard. Think of it like a gift card that you can load with as much Bitcoin as you want, as many times as you want, and then you can use a mobile wallet to then spend said Bitcoin when you are ready. Now, this isn't meant to be like a long-term storage mechanism. More so, I would just use it as a temporary fix for the time being, so that if you happen to mine a Bitcoin block, in the initial setup period of this, you can just rely on this until you understand how to use your own Bitcoin wallet. But this is a quick solution. How do you use this? Very simple. You take the card, you take your phone, you make sure you have NFC turned on, you tap it to your phone. It's going to ask you if you'd like to open your browser. It's going to scan the card for authenticity, takes you to satscard.com, and then it lets you get your Bitcoin address, which can then be redeemed using a downloaded app later on. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about the Satscard, but I do have a full video on how it works. So check that in the show notes down below if you want to learn more about it. But the long and the short of it is, it gives a QR code, but down below the QR code, there is a string of digits. If I can get it, there you go. It starts with BC1 over here. That is a Bitcoin address. All I need to do is copy that information, and then I need to paste it into the field here. Now, there's one other way you can do this that's going to be more robust. You can go with a Satscard, very simple, tap, copy the info, paste it in, double check it before you move on. However, I like the idea of being in control of my own keys and all of that. So I would recommend checking out Sparrow Wallet. This is something you can download for your desktop. It's just an application you're going to download. You don't have to know all the ins and outs of all the detailed finicky things about how it works. That's okay. But the basics of it are, you're going to get a program that looks like this on your desktop. Once it's open and running, you're going to hit new wallet. You're going to name it. I'm going to call it Futurebit, and I'll hit create wallet. There's a lot of stuff here. Don't worry about, again, the intricacies of this. I'm going to choose a new or imported software wallet. Up at the top, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to choose 12 words for the simplest, easiest to record version of this. And then I'm going to hit generate new. This is going to give me 12 words. You never share these words with anybody. They are the keys to your money. So you don't want to do that. But you're going to write them down physically, and then you're going to keep them safe. You're not going to take pictures or anything. Again, anybody with access to this information can take what the keys unlock, which is your money, if you happen to successfully mine a block with the Futurebit. So keep that in mind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to redo this after I record it, so that you guys don't have the keys to my money, but I'll show in general how this would work. So I would write these down physically. What I'm going to do right now, never do, but I'm going to screenshot just so this is quicker. I write down all of these words, and then in the next screen, it's going to ask me to confirm my backup. So I would hit the blue button. I would hit the button that says re-enter words, and then I would type all of these words in. So we'll just speed ahead to see that. If I've written them down and then transcribed them correctly, it will give me a green check that says valid checksum. At that point, I hit the blue button again, and then finally in the bottom right, blue button again. You don't necessarily need a password here. I'm going to say no. This would just be to prevent somebody that has direct access to your computer getting on here. But if you're not overly worried about that, and this is just for your Futurebit mining, you should be okay. I'm going to say no password. At this point, the entire left side of the screen, all of these options turn blue. I can go up to the top left where it says transactions. This is kind of my home screen where it shows my balance. And the only thing that you need right here, and I'll get rid of this seed phrase here, is you just need to go to the receive screen, and there's a Bitcoin address queued up for you right there. So you would copy this information with the copy button, and then you would bring up your Futurebit screen, And that was in my browser here. So you'd bring up your Futurebit screen and you would paste the address again in this field and then hit next. So I'm going to redo that without the camera on. I'll create my wallet, paste in my Bitcoin address, and then I'll hit next, and I'll see you guys right back here. Next up, the Futurebit is going to ask me to set and verify a password. So I'm going to type it in twice, and then I will click complete. So we'll just jump ahead. Now it says your setup is complete. Let's start mining some Bitcoin. So far, so good. Pretty easy. Let's click that button and see what happens. It's going to ask us to sign in. So we'll type in the password we used before we just set up. All right, and we are in. Things are already happening. So we've got our dashboard here. The top right, the number one thing I'm going to want to do is I want to turn on dark mode. Much better. All right, and let me get out of the way here so you guys can see what's going on here. There we go. So we have a couple things going on. So up top, we've got some indicators. I see green check marks. I see things happening, waiting for the current miner status to match the desired one. It says offline. You got to give it a few minutes for things to start happening. It does take a little while, but we're starting to see miner temperature, system temperature, hardware errors, node status, all of this stuff. Okay, so what needs to happen, and we're also seeing things happening with hash rate here. Now, what I want to let you guys know about is that if you are solo mining, this thing, even though it shows hash rate, is not actually mining until your node is fully synced. This can take time. It takes a while. You're basically downloading the entire history of every transaction that has ever happened in Bitcoin. And so that takes some time. I have a fast internet connection. I'm plugged in directly to the router. It's probably going to take 3 days, okay? If you've got a slower connection, it might take you a week, but let this thing do its thing, peek back from time to time. You may find during the more intense parts towards the end of the syncing that this screen will not always reliably show up. You may have timeouts and things like that. Don't worry, let it do its thing, check back later. Try not to jump on here too often because it's working, it's doing hard work. Once it's all synced, then you can revisit this over and over, but check in once in a while, but don't leave this open the whole time. So we can see, again, we see like timeouts and all this kind of stuff happening here. It's just gradually syncing. It will take time. So, with that, we can poke around a little bit more, but mostly we'll come back once this is all synced up. So, I mean, the main thing that you're going to be looking at here really quick before just leaving it to do its thing is over here on the top left. If you go down the side, you have overview that we're on now, miner, solo mining, and node. Let's click on node and see what's up. It says it's syncing blocks. So it is currently downloading the history of Bitcoin and syncing it with the network. Right now, it says that we've got 235,000 of around 878,000 blocks. Those early blocks didn't have much data in them, so they're easy to get through. The later ones are going to take longer. So we're just going to leave this be. It's doing stuff. It's working. I can hear the fans going. It's going to be doing some stuff for the next few days. We'll come back when that's done, and then we'll check out what's in front of us. So flash forward to us having our Bitcoin node fully synced on the Futurebit. Now, how long did this take? Well, in my case, it was 4 days. I started it on a Saturday morning. It is now Wednesday morning. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 full days to sync. And I do have quick internet. So if yours is a little bit slower, it might take a little bit longer. You may be sitting a week for this thing to fully sync up. We'll talk about why you may want to do this in terms of solo mining and what the purpose of this is, because there are solo miners that don't require you to sync a full copy of the blockchain, but there's an important reason why that's the case. We'll go over that in the key takeaways later in the video. Nonetheless, I can see that we are fully synced because I am currently on the node screen. So over on the left-hand side, I'm clicked on node. And rather than having a ratio of how many blocks we have downloaded versus how many total there are, it just says current block up top, and it says we're currently on block 879383. It also lets us know it's been 48, the number of minutes since the last block. So 21 seconds rather since the last block, 0 minutes. And then it shows the total size of the blockchain that we currently have downloaded, the exahash, that's the network hash rate, the number of connections that we have to other nodes that we're relaying information to and from, the remaining space left on our disk, our local node address for our local network, just within our home network, and then the version of Bitcoin that we are running. And then down below, we can see our connections to other nodes in the network. Now, if you'll notice, if I go back to overview on the left, I have no hash rate. Now, why is that? Well, I did an extra thing in between these takes because I thought it might be helpful and most efficient to do. What I did is I turned off the miner, which you can do. So over on the left-hand side, if I click on miner, you can see there's a little button up top that says start miner right now, obviously because it's off and that would be the only thing that I could do. It looked like this before. If I click on node, there's the option to stop node. That's what the stop button looks like. You can turn on and off the node or the miner at any point. They are segregated from each other. So I decided to turn off the miner because one, that's going to be using up more power unnecessarily because I'm not solo mining if my node isn't fully synced. And then secondly, I just felt like it would kind of give a little bit more horsepower and energy towards syncing the actual node if resources aren't being pushed towards also mining. I don't know how true that statement is, but it was just better for me to kind of leave it off. But now that we're fully synced, I can start it up. I'm simply going to click Start Miner, and it's going to give a few minutes before it boots up. And we'll be right back. As soon as it does, we'll take a look at the dashboard and see what's in front of us. All right, so everybody is all set here. We've got everything all synced up and the miner is functioning. So we'll just sort through the screens really quick here. But I do want to do a couple other things here, some settings that we may want to tweak, as well as we have an update available. I'll show you how to get to that as well. So really quick, I'm just going to go down to the bottom left and click on settings. And so right now we are solo mining. We have a Bitcoin wallet address that we're mining to. That switch is clicked on. If we do want to switch to pool mining, we can turn off solo mining mode and put in our pool settings later. We will do that later in the video. Let's click on the miner tab up top. Right now, my miner is currently set to eco mode, and so it's most efficient. Hash rate is slightly lower. We'll take a look at what that's at. But we do have options for balanced and turbo, and there's custom. I'm not going to tinker too much with the custom, but we'll take a listen to eco versus turbo mode in terms of the amount of noise that I'm getting out of this thing and the heat being kicked off it. Just so you're aware, I did have this thing running for the first little bit when it was initially set up. And my office isn't huge, but you can, for me, I can audibly hear it with my headphones on. It's about the similar amount of noise that you would hear for a small space heater, perhaps, I would say. And then the heat kicked off. It did make my office warm. It's winter here. It did warm it up. And I was comfortable in a t-shirt, but it's definitely a warmer room of the house when this thing is on. Okay. But this is where you would change that. Also, miner fan settings. I just have it on auto. You can tinker with that if you want. Status light, the front status light, it does have different blinking methods. We'll talk about that momentarily, but you can turn that off if you like. Let's click over to the node settings. Now this is where I will want to make some changes here if we're going to it requires a restart to make these changes. Tor mode, connect your Bitcoin node over the Tor network to increase security and anonymity. Note your node will be restarted to apply. And then allow LAN connections, local area network connections, to your Bitcoin node to connect external wallets and services. Note your node again will be restarted to apply. I want both of these on, so I'm going to click those now. Boom. Boom. Okay, you have solo mining enabled. It's suggested to turn off Tor. Okay, so never mind. We'll turn this on when we go to use pooled mining. It's saying we don't really need Tor for for solo mining. So I'll leave that off, okay? But I do want local area connections. We'll turn Tor on when we go and test out pools. Okay. It does now also give me a save and restart down at the bottom right. You can't see that, but I will get out of the way. 1 second. There it is in the bottom right here. Let's keep poking around before we do that. We'll see if it retains that setting. Yeah, it stays down there. Okay. Wi-Fi settings. This is where you would connect to Wi-Fi from here. You can hit scan. It will show Wi-Fi available in the area, and then you would click the network and put in the password. I don't need to do that because I'm hardwired. And then we'll go to extra. Let's see here. This is about backups. We'll cover that momentarily. So basically, we just made the one change of allowing for our wallets to be able on the local network to be able to connect. And so we will be making that change. But I want to draw your attention to one other thing, and that is in the top right. The power button is currently colored and it's wiggling around like there's something to do there. That is because there is an update available for the firmware on my Futurebit. So let's just click that and see what happens. So it gives us a drop down and it says I can stop, restart. That's for the miner. I can stop the node. I can reboot, shut down, sign out, and then the version. There's a little exclamation point. Let's click on that. Let's see what's up. New version 2.0.6 is available. Please update to the latest version of the app to get the latest features and bug fixes. Update can take 15 to 30 minutes. Note, your system will restart after update is complete. Do not power off the system until it has restarted. Close this page and refresh it after your system has restarted. So it kind of sounds like, I don't know if that setting that I changed for the local area network will take if I do this first. We'll do this first. If it doesn't keep that setting, then we'll just implement that after we come back. So I'm going to hit the update button, see what happens here. It's obviously going to download the appropriate update. And once it gets through it, I imagine it will just reboot. So we'll jump ahead here. So just a side note here, there weren't too many notifications at first. Took a second. We now see this percentage updating. It says 30%. I did hear the miner kind of power down. The fan is off now. And I'm seeing some activity in the background. So just hang tight. And yeah, you see some of this stuff starting to time out in the background and restart. So, okay. So as I was letting this load, it kind of seems to get stuck around, it was either 30 or 60%. Anyways, I think I was a little impatient. I refreshed the page and then the miner wasn't running. So then I restarted the miner, like just from the dashboard, no physical, I didn't touch the device itself. And then it didn't appear to have taken with the update. So I just redid the process the exact same as you saw on screen. And then it actually went through and did everything. And so I'm now here and it says that it's done right there. And I can just hit reload app. I guess it'll just reload the dashboard. And, you know, I can hear the miners running once again. So everything appears to have been updated just fine. And yeah, here we are. We're all set up. Update's all done. And yeah, so if you do find that it doesn't update, refresh the page, and then I believe the little power icon in the top right, it will still be colored, and you just click on that. You just do it again, and I found that resolved the issue entirely. So nonetheless, I'm all updated. We are good to go. I'm just on my phone here. This is the ambient noise of this device on eco mode, although it's kicked up a little bit because the terahash is up a little bit, but you can kind of hear it's effectively like a space heater, not super loud. But when I was recording, I think some of the sound was coming through, but you know, I'm right next to it right now. That's the sound you're getting out of it. Let's ramp this thing up to the highest setting and see how it sounds. Okay, this thing kicked on. I'm on the other side of my office, just so you get an idea of how large this office is. There's considerably more noise, I'm gonna say. And it's still ramping up here. So Getting right back down here. Yeah, so that thing's buzzing away quite a bit. And you can see like all of the temperature and everything are getting up there. We're in and around the 9 to 10 terahash range. So it's up there. I prefer eco mode. So we have successfully set up our Futurebit. We've updated it, put our settings as we like. We've linked a wallet address so that if we do hit a block while solo mining, we will receive our Bitcoin into our own self-custody. So what next? What do we do? What is there more stuff to do? Let's take a look and let's just see what is on our dashboard, what information is being served to us here. So we're currently here on the overview. Again, if you click in the top left-hand corner, this is kind of your main home dashboard right here. In the middle, we see the hash rate of our device with the settings that we have. Remember, we're in eco mode, so it's not as loud, but you may still be able to hear a little bit of the fans in the background here. It's not too bad though. Okay, so we have our miner temperature currently sitting at 69 degrees Celsius. The system temperature is at 46. Hardware errors, 0. That's good. Power usage is currently using 195 watts to achieve this terahash. The node status, we are currently connected to 18 other peers. So these are other people that are also running a copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. We're syncing information with them, sending it back and forth. So we make sure we're all in consensus. We are currently on block 879406. I kind of let this thing run for a little bit. I've been doing stuff today. And our current blockchain size, the amount of data that the Bitcoin blockchain is taking up on our device is 667.63 gigabytes. Down below, we have just some stats on our device. We're using 3% of the CPU, so that's fine. Our memory usage is at about 31.33%, or about 1 gig of 4 gigs of RAM. And our system disk, we're using about 50% of it. And that's just as it pertains to, I believe, just the firmware part of it. The 2 terabyte drive for the blockchain download is separate to that, because you can see it's 7 out of 14 gigabytes. Now let's head over to the miner dashboard. We'll click on that on the left and we get some more data. I'm going to get myself off the screen here so you can just see the data as it's presented. Plenty of stuff here. So here's our hash rate up in the top left. Now we have up here, it says accepted and rejected number of shares. And so the best way to describe this is when you're part of a mining pool, shares are effectively kind of designating how much hash power of the total was contributed by yourself or by a particular person or group of machines that are allocated to a single person or entity. And so this metric is primarily useful for when you're mining in a pool. But with the Futurebit, when you're solo mining, it's not as useful because you're just solo mining. And if you get the reward, you get the reward. You don't have to divvy it up amongst many different parties. So what you're seeing is as we're submitting shares or proving how much work we've been doing, we're seeing that they're being accepted, and you're seeing this number tick up since the miner just kicked on. And then we see 0 rejected. Now, it's not horrible if you do see rejected shares. It just means that there was some sort of like a timeout or something like that, or it wasn't submitted in time, or typically it's like connection related. As long as your accepted shares are far higher than your rejected shares, you're totally fine. If you see something happening where more are getting rejected than accepted, then that's an indication that something odd is happening there. Okay. Uptime, obviously, of the device of the miner, 37 minutes now. Device presets, we are solo mining on eco mode. Power management is auto. Frequency and fans are all set to auto. So just basically a little breakdown of how our device is set up currently. total pools and hashboards. This shows our hashboards. Again, data on how much power we're using with the RPMs of the fan, the terahash, the heat, the watts per terahash, any bugs that we've come across, and we've got one active, which is the device. Okay. Then we've got the pools. We are just part of a single pool that we're doing ourselves, and we see this is again a reiteration of the accepted shares. And then down below, again, we just kind of see our miner temperature, our chip speed on average, and our fan speed on average. Now, the chip speed, you can see there's a percentage. I believe that pertains to the fact that we're on eco mode. And actually, let me get myself off the screen here so you can see that. Apologies. Chip speed here is at 135.83, but you can see it's 56.6% of the potential total speed, meaning that this thing isn't running at full capacity because we're sacrificing that to use less power and cause, for me, primarily less heat and less noise while I'm in my office. If I had a bigger space or I didn't mind the noise and the heat, then I would probably ramp that up, and we'll test that later. And then again, the fan speed is currently at about 60% of capacity. It can be ramped up higher, which it would be if we went off of eco mode. And there we have it for our miner dashboard. Let's click on solo mining and see what shows here. So you can point any Bitcoin miner on your local network to your solo pool with the following URL. So it gives us an IP address here, and it gives us a username, which is the Bitcoin address that we've selected to mine to. We will cover how to do that momentarily. But let's also take a look at the other data here. Again, accepted shares. This is overall. Rejected shares, we don't see any. That's good. Last share, seconds ago, uptime 38 minutes. We see our terahash here. And this isn't a 1 hour average. So obviously we've been up, our uptime has been 38 minutes, and there was some downtime there. So this will come up to meet the terahash per second that we're seeing on our current dashboard over the course of an hour, roughly. Okay, so we see it already increasing. Yeah, and then solo info. This is, I really like this. Daily chance of solving a solo block. So this is basically, I alluded to this as winning, you know, you're throwing your hat in the lottery and maybe you win and you mine a block worth 3.125 Bitcoin. Well, this is your chances. So right now, based on the hash rate data that they have, and I'm not sure if this is maybe not taking into account my total hash rate because it currently is showing the hour at 5. So it's closer to 6, so it'll be lower than this. But I've got a 1 in 1 million chance of mining a block. And to be honest, to me, that sounds pretty good, actually. I don't mind those odds. It's not very likely, but could it happen? Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, not so bad. Okay, again, shows users, workers, all of that. And so this would be, we would see more in terms of users and workers if we had more miners pointing towards our Futurebit and mining. Okay. Oh, there we go. There's our updated. So we're now at 6.31 terahash. Take a look at our chances. 1 in 845,000 chance of solving a solo block. For a device that is not that expensive, that is doubling as a node, that is a good learning device, a good conversation piece, and actually is kicking off some decent heat for my office, and I live in Canada. I don't mind that at all, that I'm also in a lottery for 3.125 Bitcoin and I've got a 1 in 845,000 chance. I think that's pretty decent. I'm happy with that. I'm good to go there. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for the solo mining thing. You can X out of this notification up top. I'm going to keep it there for now, just so I have it. But that information is available. And then if I click on node, again, we're back here. We saw this when we finally synced up, but shows the minutes since last block, the blockchain size, the exahash of the network, the connections, the remaining space on our larger drive. You can see that's different than the one that shows for where our operating system is on. This is the dedicated drive for the blockchain. And then, of course, we've got our node local address, the option to connect, and our version of Bitcoin, and then some of our peers. And you can scroll side to side down at the bottom to see more of your peers that you are connected to. So that's kind of our overview here. What I want to do next is, now that we know all the data that we can see in here, have our settings. Next, the other thing you might want to do is you might want to connect Bitcoin wallets on the same network to your Futurebit. So that's your copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. And so we're going to dive into that next, connecting a wallet, and we'll start with Sparrow wallet to your own node that is on your Futurebit at home. Okay, so let's get to connecting one of the wallets in our local network to our Futurebit as a node. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, effectively, when you're running a wallet, if you're not connected to your own node, what you're actually doing every time you check a balance, spend a transaction, receive, anything like that, you are effectively virtually tapping somebody on the shoulder that is running a node themselves and then saying, can you check how much I have? Can you check on this address? Can you relay this transaction for me? And those nodes that you connect to may or may not keep logs of that information and may connect it to your IP address if they do keep logs. And so ideally, for a privacy measure and also to a degree, not having to trust, but verifying yourself, aka running a copy of the Bitcoin blockchain and actually checking if you have money yourself. That is why you might do this. So let's get going with this on your Futurebit node. Now, before, when I was checking some of the settings, and then we also did the update, I said I wasn't sure if those settings were going to take. They do not take if you're in the midst of an update as well. So you will have to go back into settings down in the bottom left. Then you're going to want to go to node up in the top middle, and then you're going to click on allow LAN connections, at which point, if I get myself off the screen here, there's the save and restart button in the bottom right. So I'm going to do that right now. And this should restart just the Bitcoin node portion of it. But because the Bitcoin node is temporarily offline, I believe I'll lose some hash rate for a second as that restarts. But it looks like it came to fruition pretty quick. Let's double check this. It's on. It appears to be good. Okay, yeah. On my main overview dashboard, it says your node is starting up. And so I guess as soon as this is done, then we'll be able to begin actually connecting one of our wallets. All right, back up and running, no problem. We see the little green check up in the top where the node is. And if we actually click on node, we can see that we're starting to regain connections. So it's popping up here, 13 of 64 possible connections. Yep, so we are back online, no problem. That took less than a minute there, so no big deal. Okay, so now we want to connect our external wallets to our node. So let's click on node itself again. And I'll get myself off the screen for a second. But here on local node access, there's a connect button. So clicking on this connect button here, I get some information. I get an address, there's an IP address, and a port. They are separated by a colon, and depending on the wallet you're using, you may need to separate them out when you enter them. There's also a username and a password. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this information in a wallet that I have over here, which is called Sparrow Wallet. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Sparrow Wallet, I'll get myself back here. If you're unfamiliar with Sparrow Wallet, I have done a video on how to use it. I'm not going to do a super deep dive here, but just know that you can use hot wallets, aka wallets that are exclusively on your computer, or you can use hardware wallets like the Cold Card with this and plenty of other options. But nonetheless, anything you do through Sparrow Wallet, once connected to your Futurebit, will be going through your own node. So you're no longer relying on somebody else's node. And so let's see what that looks like. So here, I'm going to go up to the Sparrow menu. If you're on Windows, then you would probably go File, and then you're looking for Settings. This brings up a Settings menu, and I'm going to click on Server. And then I'm going to, if I'm already connected, like if I was connected to a node, like a public node here, there's a little check mark and everything. Typically, if you're not connected to your own node already, you'll be on a public server. So what I want to do here is I'm going to click on Bitcoin Core. You may see a button here that says Edit Connection in order to click on these options up top. And so there is a toggle switch on either side. There's one that says default and there's one that says user and password. So I've actually gone in here and put in this information already, but you can see it's back here on your Futurebit node console. So what I have is the IP address here, 192.168.1.68, and then the port is 8332. So I am separating out those values in this instance, and you can see I've put them here under URL. I put the main IP address, and then if I just get rid of this, it will say, I believe, maybe it doesn't say port there, but normally it says port, but 8332 was the value we needed. Next, we have selected user/password because that's what we have. We see the username is Futurebit and the password was the one that we copied over from there. I'm going to turn off proxy. I'm just going to leave that. This is just local. We don't need that on. And I'm going to hit test connection and cross my fingers that this works. And here we go. This is what a successful connection looks like. Connected to 2.0 protocol version 1.4. Basically, we see the green check mark and we know we're good to go. So I can now hit close. You will see down at the bottom connected to, and you'll see the button down in the bottom right also now is green. And if you hover above it, it says connected to HTTP, so on and so forth at block height 879 something something. So we are now connected to our own node, our own Futurebit node on our local network. And anything we do through Sparrow now will, instead of asking somebody else's copy of the blockchain, it will ask our own copy of the blockchain on our Futurebit if we have new transactions, if we have a balance, or if we want to send a transaction, it will go to our node first and then begin proliferating to our peers, which you can see from the node screen. It'll start going out to all of these other nodes that we are connected to, and that's how our transaction will begin to go out to the network. So really, really cool, not too difficult to do. Copy and paste a few things into Sparrow, and you are off to the races. All right, so we've now set up our Futurebit. We're mining solo. We have our node fully synced. We've connected external wallets, and we're relying on the node within the Futurebit to, relay transaction information. What else is there to do? Well, the answer here is you can connect other miners on your same network to the mining pool that you have created on your Futurebit. And that's cool. So we're going to do that right now. Now, I've done a video on another device known as the Brains Mini Miner, and I actually have the dashboard for that right here. So you can see it's plugging away. It's got about 1.1 terahash, and it's actually on the shelf right beside the Futurebit. Now, currently, I am solo mining on this, but I'm relying on a pool to do that for me, solo pool, I believe. And what if I want to point this to the pool on my Futurebit? How do I go about doing that? Well, that's actually pretty easy here. In fact, we even have a pop-up about it. All we need is this URL, 192.168.168, and then port 3333. And then it says our username will be the Bitcoin address that we are mining to. So if I go to, let's say, solo mine, yes, solo mining. So this Bitcoin address here. And actually I can get the full Bitcoin address if I go to settings and I click on pools. This is the Bitcoin address that I want. Okay. So let's take a look at Brains here. And again, I recognize that some of you won't be running this device simultaneously, but I'm just giving you the general concept of what you need. With Brains OS, if I go to configuration, there's a setting here where I have my pool that I'm mining to. Well, I'm going to swap that out for the information here over on my Futurebit. So let's go to solo mining. Let's grab this URL 192.168, all that. I'm just going to copy that. I'll jump back over here. I'll paste that in right here. Then let's grab that Bitcoin address. So I'm going to settings down at the bottom, and under solo settings, there's the Bitcoin address that I had. And I can plunk that in here. And and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, let's just get rid of that for a second. Okay, so I figured out that we need the stratum plus TCP : / in front of all that. So then I'll plunk in the rest of the information that was on Futurebit. And this is going to vary depending on the device you're using, but let's see if that works. I believe that's it. So I put in the information here and the Bitcoin address as the username. And we may, if I'm not mistaken, when this refreshes, we may see an additional user or worker, probably a worker, I imagine, jump on here and also be mining through our device. All right, so Brains dashboard here, things are happening. It seems to be mining. Everything seems to be good. We jump back over here to our Futurebit. Lo and behold, 1 user, 2 workers. So that means that we now have 2 devices mining to our own mining pool on our Futurebit device on our local network. And it was just a quick copy and paste, and we're good to go. So that means we've got additional terahash. Everything is working together, and you can do this with the BitAxe, the NerdAxe. I believe Canaan is also has some home mining devices, or multiple Futurebits. If you've got an old Futurebit and you've got a new one, or if you've got multiple of these devices that you're putting in different places, you can point them all to the same pool, the same network, and that makes me excited. That's great. So really, really cool. I'm pretty stoked about that feature. I quite like that. But there we are. We've done a lot here, and yeah, plenty to take away from this. All right, so let's talk solo mining versus pooled mining. Let's say you want to do pooled mining rather than solo mining because you'd like to see some payouts into a Lightning wallet or something like that. That is something that you can absolutely do with this. And in fact, if you go to pool mine, you do not have to sync the onboard node for your Futurebit. You can, but it's not, the mining function isn't reliant on the node being synced itself. Now I've gone ahead and I've switched some settings here, and I am currently mining with a pool, and you can tell so because there is no longer a solo mining section here over on the left. So how did I get to this point, and what was involved? Now, number one, you're going to want to have an account on a mining pool. There's Ocean, there's Brains. Those are a couple easy options there. But I'm going to show Brains just for simplicity's sake today. This is pool.brains.com. And you basically sign up with an email address and a password. And I now have basically a little dashboard that I can refer to. You can see that I'm currently connected, but we'll go into that momentarily. Now, over on your Futurebit, what you're going to want to do is you're going to go down to the bottom left and hit Settings. And by default, you'll be in the Pools section. And you're going to want to flick off the solo mining mode here, which was on for me before. And then you have to hit Save and Reset in the bottom right. At this point, it will allow you to begin tinkering with this pool setting here. And there's actually a convenient drop-down menu that gives you Ocean and Brains settings by default. So I did click this, I hit Brains, and it filled in this information right here. And what I required was a username and a password. And the password can really be anything that you like. But the username is the important thing. And the username for Brains would be the username that I set up here. So you can see in the top right, it says BTC Sessions. And so adding your miner to Brains Pool is as simple as I go to workers and I can hit, there's a little button that says connect workers, and it gives me the information about how to do this. Now, this information here was auto-filled conveniently by my Futurebit when I said I wanted to go with Brains from that drop-down menu. So I don't even need to copy and paste this. They did it for me. What I do need is the user ID and a password. The user ID, as I said, is BTC Sessions because that's what I signed up with Brains Pool as, but it says BTC Sessions dot worker name. And so this would be the name that you're giving to your miner. So for instance, I selected BTC Sessions dot Futurebit, and then your password can be anything you like. So all I need to do is in my settings here on my Futurebit is type BTC Sessions dot Futurebit. Then that designates to the miner, hey, you're pointing towards Brains Pool, which is this information. You're pointing towards this username on Brains Pool, and you're going to give the name of the device Futurebit, or maybe it's Futurebit 1 or 2 if you have multiples. And then the password is going to be whatever you type here. It doesn't matter. As soon as you put in this information, they're going to get, again, in the bottom right-hand corner, a save and restart button, which I've already hit. And then it's going to take a few minutes to begin working, restarting, and then for Brains, the pool website, to see your worker and begin registering. So what that looks like is just a little bit of navigation here. There's the main dashboard here. That's where we're on. And I can see that I'm now connected because I have hash rate. I have a worker state. I see that there's one worker that is online and working with a check mark. The reason there's other workers here is because I've previously connected other devices on and off just to in other videos that I've done. So it's aware of those workers. I can remove them later if I want. Then I can go to workers over here on the left, and I can see there's the Futurebit listed right there. And it has an OK with a little thumbs up or a little check mark. It gives me my terahash and all of the stats about it. Now, that's not the only part that you need to fill in here. You also need to designate where your rewards are going to go when you are receiving payouts, because you will actually be able to get payouts with this, albeit small ones. I can go up to the top right for the wallet where it says it has a little wallet icon here. And when I click that, I can hit add new account. I can give the account a name, LN wallet or whatever I want. I can hit add new account. And then for that account, I can click on it. It says there's no payout rule. Can I set it up? I can click there. I think I can also just click the name of the wallet and set up payout rule. Where do you want it to go? Payout wallet, Lightning payout. So this is where I would put a Lightning address. Now this could be something as simple as I've done videos on Wallet of Satoshi and Speed Wallet. Both of those are custodial Lightning wallets that have Lightning addresses, the ones that look like an email address. Or you may have a self-sovereign setup where, you know, I'm running a Start9 and I've got Alby Hub set up, and that also allows me to have a Lightning address. Regardless, let's click on that there just for a second. If I hit receive, I have a Lightning address, btcsessions@getalby.com. So I need something that looks like that. And then I just paste it in here. And then I can say threshold value, like how often do I want to get paid out if I earn X amount of sats? With Lightning, it doesn't really matter because even small payouts are just fine. It will just work. It'll be, you know, whether it's 1 sat or 1,000 sats or 100,000 sats, it's going to come through. So I can click I understand. If it's wrong, then I will lose those funds because they're going to somebody else. I'll hit confirm changes, and then that adds, and I can authenticate there. There we go. It's going to send me an email to confirm that I've added that wallet, and then I would just confirm, and it's going to give me an option there. But again, at the end of the day, when I go back to my dashboard and I go to rewards, I want to have, when I go to settings rather and hit reward split, I can split it between wallets, or I can have it just going to one. Right now it's going to one Lightning address, and it says 100% of my proceeds will go to Speed Wallet, which I also do have up in the browser here. And so any payouts I will see pop in to this wallet, as they come, and I can hit save changes. And then that's it. It's going to my Lightning address every single time I get a payout, and there's no other settings on my behalf. So more or less, I've now set up in pooled mining. I had to, just as a review, I had to set up an account on brains.pool.brains. What was the website there? I'll put it in the show notes, pool.brains.com. So I had to set up an account there, which in turn gives me a username. And then I also had to set up a payout wallet there, which is our Lightning wallet. I wouldn't do on chain unless you've got a lot of hash rate, which if you just got one device, it's not going to be the case. And then I needed to go into the Futurebit, and I needed to go to the settings, turn off solo mining, select brains, and then type in my username dot the name of my miner, and then give it any password, and then save and reset. And at that point, over time, it will pop up on your Brains dashboard. You will begin to see hash rate come up. You will begin to see your device listed under workers, and you'll be off to the races, and you'll be receiving Lightning payouts directly to your own Lightning wallet whenever Brainspool hits a block. Now, anytime you do want to go back to solo mining, which I'm going to do now, you just need to click the switch and save and recover. Keep in mind that solo mining pool that we created, because we have a node running on this thing, my Brains mini miner was relying on that pool. But as soon as you turn it off, it's dead, which means this other miner that was pointed to my own device, it says pool status is dead. So just in order to fix that, I'm going to turn back on solo mining mode. My wallet address, I will grab the Bitcoin address that I had before. And then down in the bottom right, I will click save and restart. The miner is going to kick on for a second. It will restart. But in a short period of time, I should be back up and running. Everything will be back as it was. I'll be hashing and mining solo style to my own mining pool. And then eventually my Brains mini miner will also recover and begin mining directly to my own pool. So you can switch back and forth as you please. You can see my miners online. It's going to start kicking on. And now we have the solo mining tab over on the left reinstated. So there you have it. Now, as a reminder, because I forgot to do it, it's not a bad idea to turn on Tor mode in your settings. So just as a review, how to get there. Bottom left, settings, node, Tor mode. It's not a bad idea to turn that on when you're mining with a pool. So apologies, I should have put that first, but I did forget there. But it's a good idea to have that on when you are mining with any pool. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on here is backing up the settings that you have on this thing. And you can actually do that by going down to the bottom left in settings and going over to extra and then backup settings. You can click that and it's going to download just a little file to your computer. You can save a copy of that. And then if for some reason your device got wiped and you wanted to just restore it the way it was with, all of your pool information and your Bitcoin address and just the way you like it, then it's as simple as going into your settings once again, going to extra, and then clicking on restore and uploading that file. It would put everything back in place. One other thing to mention here too, this is a tool for formatting and setting up your node hard drive. So I showed before the hard drive is located at the bottom end of the device. If at some point your node hard drive isn't large enough, the Bitcoin blockchain has grown, you want to keep using this node and miner together for solo mining, well, then you just unscrew that little hard drive, put in a larger one in its place, and then click on format, and it will go through that process for you, and you'll be right as rain and ready to rock. So with all that covered, I want to start touching on the key takeaways that I found and things that I think are super important for you to know in regards to this unit, what you want to consider when you're thinking about grabbing one. So number one, for me, one of the most important aspects of this device is the solo mining aspect of it in a self-sovereign way. And what I mean is most of the time when you're solo mining, what you're really doing is, yes, you're solo mining with a single device and kind of doing the lottery play in order to hopefully one day hit a block. But you are relying on a pool to put together the template for you of what transactions get into a block, because that is the function of a miner, to aggregate transactions and then add them to the Bitcoin blockchain. When you are relying on somebody else to do that for you, then they just get to choose what goes into the block. Now, there are new exceptions to this depending on the mining pool that you go with, but you're not pulling it from your own Bitcoin node. Whereas with this, you are. And so with a plug and play all-in-one option. So from the get-go, you download a copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. That is your copy. When you do happen to hit a block, if you do, then your device will go from your copy of the Bitcoin blockchain, and it will just use the most profitable transactions. And by default, it will pay out that way. And that's how it comes to attach a block. So that is kind of the main selling feature of this, is the paired node functionality and solo mining functionality wrapped into one convenient box. And the fact that you can now point other miners that you have at your own Bitcoin node in your own mining pool that is created on your own device. I think that is super, super cool. Now, let's talk about some of the other features here. So that as a whole helps, if everybody was doing that, or a lot of people were doing that, it helps mitigate miner centralization. Now, a lot of it needs to take place in order for that to be the case, but you get my point. The more of this, the better. Now, there are going to be new features on the way. So we did an update in it, and there's some cool stuff on the way. One of them that I've heard rumblings of that is coming in one of the next updates here is being able to actually schedule your miner turning on and off. And so if you're using it in the kind of the space heating capacity, then you may want it on in the evenings or at certain points of the day, and you can just schedule that. So I'm excited for that feature because it does keep my office nice and toasty warm, but maybe sometimes I don't want it on, or maybe I'm doing a show or whatever. I'm sure you can hear the buzzing a little bit more now because it's a little bit hotter in here. But some features that I would love to see out of this: options for different Bitcoin implementations on the node side. So we're running Bitcoin Core right now. It'd be kind of cool to see options for running knots, perhaps. That'd be nice to see. The other thing, I would love to see options for Bitcoin block templates and some tinkering in there if somebody wanted to do that. So you can just set your own template instead of just whatever. Right now, it is whatever it is. There's no explicit censorship, but there's also no control around what you might want to do there. Another thing I wanted to touch on, if you are interested in seeing the documentation and the GitHub pages for this, you can check it out. Just search Futurebit GitHub. John Stephanopoulos, creator of the Apollo series and the Futurebit here. You can check out all of this stuff, all the binaries and all that, if that tickles your fancy. Now, I do want to address pricing of this device. At the time of recording this video, you have a couple of different options. The full node version that I have with a 2 terabyte hard drive for the node itself, and again, it's a unit that can pump out up to 10 terahash a second, it's not cheap. It's $1,100 for the device. If you want to go with the cheaper option, and maybe I'll share the screen here. So here's the one that I have, Apollo 2 full node. It has 2 terabyte SSD storage, the new OS, everything, and of course the miner at 10 terahash. So yeah, that one's around $1,100. You can also do the Apollo 2 standard. That's the miner unit only. It does not have the additional 2 terabyte hard drive and the onboard node. You can still solo mine doing something through like Solo Pool, CK Solo Pool, or a couple of different options there, but you're not doing it from your own mining pool here on the device, and thus you can't point your other miners towards it. You'd be pointing towards a pool, like a solo based pool. And that one at the time of recording this video is sitting at around $800. So you're shaving off about $300 for this device. There was a founder's edition that was expensive and super pretty, but that one is since sold out. So I won't bother mentioning that. So how does this stack up against other options? It's really kind of hard to quantify with the version that I have because I've not seen other options that incorporate the full node and being able to connect wallets and things like that and point to your own mining pool in a simple plug and play box. And the interface is super clean. That has to be factored in. And I'm not quite sure how to price that. If you're just going straight off of the terahash, then yeah, you can very easily cost compare and say, hey, this device does this and this device does this, so this is the better value. But once you kind of start incorporating in these additional features and the build quality, this thing is like, it's hefty and it's like got the aluminum casing and everything and is quite well designed. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna do a shrug of my shoulders here. This is gonna be very much personal choice. If you're just after hash rate, then that's your factor. But if you're looking at form factor and functionality and the node and the fact that you can run your own mining pool and it's simple and it just kind of works out the gate and you don't have to build things yourself and figure out too much, then that may majorly play in here. And so it's really tough when you're looking at something like the Futurebit versus some of the Canon stuff versus the Brains Mini Miner versus the HeatBit versus a BitAxe versus a NerdAxe and all of these different home mining options. There's a variety of different prices. There's a variety of different features. So in the end, that's going to be up to you and what you like. But for me, I quite love this device. I'm very happy with it. That user experience and the user interface and all of the screens are very beautifully designed. I found it simple to connect my own miners. The syncing process was easy. Everything was just, that's kind of the name of the game. It was easy. It worked fine. I can turn it on and off as I please. It looks nice on the shelf. It's a good talking piece. I'm happy with this one on my shelf right now. So I'll leave it to you guys. I'm curious to hear. Let me know what you think of the Futurebit based on what you've observed here and based on what you've tried with other devices. I would love to check it out in the show notes, in the comments down below. Let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, like, subscribe, share, all those things. They help a ton getting this content in front of more eyeballs. You can check out their previously mentioned sponsors in the show notes down below. And if you're having any trouble in your Bitcoin journey and you need some one-on-one help, reach out to my team at bitcoinmentor.io where you can book a one-on-one education session today. Keep stacking sats, keep stacking skills. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this was your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.